Hey viewers and friends, Andrew back again and welcome to another video. And for this video I just wanted to talk about some of my favourite modern horror movies. I've decided to go with, keep it fairly recently, so horror movies within the past 6 years or so. So these are really fairly recent. And yeah, I just pretty much am kind of a little bit tired of everyone complaining that all there is in terms of horror movies are remakes. Sorry guys, well I'm not really sorry, but that is utter crap. I really don't understand that. You know, people are saying, oh, there's no decent horror movies being made anymore. Well, hopefully this video helps some of you out, and some of you guys who have been complaining about that realise that, you know, there are a lot of really good modern horror. So I'm not going to have a lot of time to talk about each of these movies because I've got a lot to show you, but I can say that I recommend each movie that I'm about to talk about. So if you haven't seen some of the movies, definitely look them up and check them out because they are all really good. And even, you know, in the past year there's been 5 great horror movies that have come out. The most recent one that I've seen and own is The Sleeper. This is a low budget slasher movie from Justin Russell, and I thought it was really good. Great throwback to kind of late 70s, early 80s horror. It reminded me a lot of the original Black Christmas. So yeah, really good, well worth checking out. Next is one everyone will be familiar with, Scream 4. I know it's a sequel, but you know, it was a great rebirth to the franchise. I'm a big Scream fan, and yeah, Scream 4 was brilliant. Next up we have The Dead, which came out last year I believe, and this is a brilliant zombie movie. If you're a fan of classic zombies, this is definitely worth checking out. I'd go as far to say as this is my favourite modern zombie movie. Loved it. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. I'm not big into horror comedies, but this one was absolutely brilliant. Perfectly done. Perfect blend of sort of horror and comedy. Slasher fans need to check this one out. It's not a exact slasher movie, it's more a reverse style slasher movie, but a lot of fun. Next is another low budget independent slasher movie that I've talked about a lot before, and that's The Orphan Killer. This one came out last year and Matt Farnsworth directed it. Really good, especially if you're a gore fan. This is well worth checking out. So they're just 5 within the past year that I thought were absolutely brilliant. Next we have Blood Night, The Legend of Mary Hatchet. Probably what I'd consider to be one of the most underrated modern slashers. Considering some of the cast, you've got Bill Moseley and Danielle Harris in this one. This isn't the best slasher movie out there, but I still thought it was really good. Some really nice kills and gore. Next is a French slasher movie called Switchblade Romance or High Tension. Brilliant, loved it. Wolf Creek, which is an Australian horror movie based off a real life serial killer called Ivan Milat. Just found out recently they're doing a sequel to this, so looking forward to checking this the sequel out. This is really good. One of my favourite Australian movies, and probably my favourite Australian horror. Next is a British horror movie called Eden Lake. This one is absolutely brilliant. Another fairly underrated one, I think. It does have its fans, but more people need to check this one out. It's really good. This one's fairly popular, and that is The Descent. For good reason. This, in my opinion, is a modern classic. Not much more needs to be said. If you haven't seen this one, you need to check it out. This is a fairly recent one. It's The Hole, directed by Joe Dante, who of course did Gremlins. If you're familiar with The Gate, from the 80s. You know, it's an 80s sort of family themed horror movie. This is kind of similar. I wasn't really expecting much going into this, but I was pleasantly surprised. Next up we have Pandorum, which is a brilliant sci-fi horror, especially if you're a fan of Event Horizon. This is well worth checking out. Loved the atmosphere and it was really, really creepy. Next we have House of the Devil. This one's fairly popular. It's a throwback to early 80s horror and it was really, really well done. This is kind of more of a like satanic ritual kind of haunted house movie, and I thought it was brilliant. Unfortunately the ending did let it down a little bit, but other than that, great movie. Next up we have Dead Silence from the director of Saw. This one was really, really good, about a ventriloquist dummy. They creeped the hell out of me, and this was really, really creepy. It had a really sort of eerie, creepy atmosphere to it. So if you haven't checked it out, I definitely recommend it. Definitely one of the more underrated ones, I think. Next we have Adam Green's Hatchet 2. In my opinion, a lot better than the original one. I loved this one. The kills and the gore were amazing. Probably my favourite modern slasher, so I definitely give this one my highest recommendation. Next up, another slasher, The Tripper. This is another fairly underrated modern slasher, I think, and it's a really, really good one. A great throwback to 80s slashers. Just a fun time, a lot of fun, cheesy kills. And the killer himself's pretty cool. He dresses up as Ronald Reagan. So, you know, there is a little bit of a political storyline to it. So something a little original and different, I guess, but really, really good. This is more popular, The Hills Run Red, another modern slasher. I thought this was great. It reminded me a lot of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I really, really enjoyed it, especially the whole sort of lost movie trailer side to the movie, and some nice gore in it as well. Next is probably one of the most hated on modern horror movies, and I don't know why. It's Wes Craven's My Soul to Take, another slasher style movie. I don't get the hate for this movie. I thought it was really, really good actually, and yeah, one well worth checking out. By no means is it Wes Craven's best, but in terms of some of his modern stuff, I thought it was brilliant. Next up, another really popular one, Trick or Treat, a great modern horror anthology. I'm sure everyone's seen it. If you haven't, you need to check it out. It is one of the best. Next up is The Children. This was a fairly recent watch for me, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I loved it, and I'm not going to lie, it did freak me out and really creep me out in parts. A lot of spine-chilling moments. A great modern killer kid movie. Really, really, really good. Next we have another Australian horror movie, a shark movie, The Reef. In my opinion, the best movie, or the best shark movie since Jaws, and most definitely the best modern shark horror movie out there. Absolutely amazing. I really, really enjoyed it. Shot on the Great Barrier Reef, so you know, it's really, really well shot. Most of the time is spent in the water, and you know, it's a really, really simple basic storyline, but it just works really, really well. And all the sharks are real sharks, I believe. Next up we have Orphan. This is pretty much the female equivalent to Damien from The Omen. I thought this was absolutely brilliant. I know a lot of people have seen this and like it, but if you haven't checked it out, I'd definitely recommend it. Next we have Let the Right One In, which is a Swedish sort of vampire love story. This movie is absolutely amazing. I'm normally not big into vampire movies, but I really, really enjoyed this one. Next is a great creature feature, Stephen King's The Mist. One of his better film adaptations in my opinion. Really enjoyed this movie. Great atmosphere, and the creatures looked awesome. And pretty good ending too, it makes you think a lot. If you get a chance, I'd highly recommend checking out the black and white version of this. Next we have The Fourth Kind. This is an alien abduction movie, but there's definitely sort of horror elements to it. More of a psychological horror. It's a mixture of real footage film blended with film footage, done really well, about a sort of counsellor or psychiatrist in a small Alaskan town who's trying to help out her clients. Basically they all get the same vision of an owl at night, and it's just sort of about their story of getting abducted by aliens. Really good though. Next we have Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell. This was absolutely brilliant. Definitely kind of a modern take on the Evil Dead series, I guess you could say. And a really good one at that. I thoroughly enjoyed this one of my favourite demon movies. And I'm not going to lie, the scene with the old lady or the demon in the car absolutely freaked me out. But yeah, really enjoyed this one. And lastly, we have Dance of the Dead. This is pretty much the teenage equivalent to Shaun of the Dead. So it's sort of a zomcom or a zombie comedy movie. Still really good, some nice kills in it, and yeah, just a fun time. So there you go guys, they're just some of my favourite modern horror movies from the past 6 or so years. So yeah, you know, there's definitely a lot more to horror than just remakes recently. As I said before, I highly recommend each and every one of these movies, so if there's any you haven't checked out, please do so. Yeah, let me know what you think of these movies in the comment section. I'm sure a lot of you really like these movies a lot as well. And yeah, thanks for watching.